In summer, the gangers cut the long grass on the line side, raking it into heaps to dry in the sun. At this time of year, Percy stops where they have been cutting.
Hey now, that's a lot right there. Farming ain't no easy task. Imagine the farmers who have to do this annually. Man, that's tough. But I must say, they are experts in their field. Percy was really the one pulling the short straw. But Alright, enough of those farm jokes. Once the hay was collected, it was then brought to Toby, who took it to the hills, where it would be used to feed livestock. Love that viaduct theme. Too bad it's being used for other backgrounds. Looks like O'Donnell and Campbell are starting to recycle their cues more. Oh well, but why is Thomas looking so glum? Because Percy continued to bother him about his trick he had done in an episode before. Thomas was not finding it funny though, which I get to some degree. Once? Okay, good one, Percy. More than twice? Or thrice? Now you're just beating a dead horse. Looks like we are heading towards another best friend argument. Woohoo.
Don't be frightened, Thomas, he laughed. It's only me. Your ugly fizz is enough to frighten anyone, said Thomas. You're like a green caterpillar with red stripes, continued Thomas firmly. You crawl like one too.
Oh, if Thomas isn't throwing jabs at bigger engines, he's really laying the smackdown on others his size. With that, Percy left annoyed, as did Thomas. I'm beginning to feel like Toby now, the engine in the middle trying to mediate these two. When Percy got to Knapford Harbor, trouble came about. Right above him was a box of treacle, or molasses, that did not look like it was going to be hanging around much longer.
A crate of treacle was upset all over Percy. Percy was cross.
I wonder who was behind that mistake. Cranky? Nope, too soon in the series for that character. Unfortunately, he was still gooped up even after leaving. This looked so silly to begin with, though. Who in their right mind thought chaining up a crate of treacle in that fashion was not going to slip? One of the loops barely has any kind of hold on that corner. As Percy drove through the hayfields, the weather started to get windier. So much so that it began blowing any loose hay into the air. I can only imagine where this is headed.
But the hay made the rails slippery, and his wheels wouldn't grip. Time after time he stalled with spinning wheels, and had to wait till the line ahead was cleared before he could start again.
Of course, back at Ellsbridge Station, Thomas was as flustered as usual. Remember that all-famous line? Time's time? Yes, that is a truth in itself, Thomas, but, why must you be such a stickler about this? The engine's run by Top Hat's schedule, not yours. This didn't matter, though, when Percy finally arrived at the platform. Even the passengers forgot he was late because of how ridiculous he looked. Percy didn't know why, for obvious reasons. I gotta say, though, it was truly a new look for him.
Look what's crawled out of the hay, teased Thomas. What's wrong, asked Percy. Talk about hairy caterpillars, puffed Thomas. It's worth being late to have seen you.
It's amazing that all that wind could have done that, plus the fact that all that treacle remained on Percy for that long. His crew really did a lousy job at cleaning him, as hard as it may be to do that. Later at Farquhar Sheds, his driver was able to show him what he looked like using a mirror. At that point, it was clear to him as to why everyone was laughing. If I was him, I'd be happy that everyone laughed instead of getting angry. That's how I'd see it. Percy requested to be cleaned in time thoroughly before Toby came back, but Thomas had already told him.
Thomas and Toby made jokes about woolly bear caterpillars and other creatures which crawl about in hay. They laughed a lot, but Percy thought they were really being very silly indeed.
Well, this rivalry kind of evened out itself. Isn't it odd, though, how this season started with an argument between Thomas and Percy? And here we are again with the last couple of stories going back to these two. This also was done in Season 1 with Thomas and Gordon, and then nearly finishing with Off the Rails and Down the Mine. Am I seeing a trend here? This episode was okay. The whole going back and forth bit between Thomas and Percy doesn't really engage me as much as I'd like it to. Seeing these two go back and forth with each other playing jokes and then getting mad at each other feels silly. If you guys are going to play tricks, then learn how to have a sense of humor instead of being insulted all the time. Meanwhile, Toby is getting in all the laughs and hasn't been caught in any tight spot yet. You better be careful, because one never knows. However, to see Percy covered in hay is quite funny. He looks like some blonde-haired punk rocker from a death metal band. Hopefully this whole quarreling business between these two dies down, though. I would like to see some more cooperation instead. As for who secured that molasses box, shame on them. If you can't even chain that up correctly, what good is that individual? Simple stuff, man. Music was fun for this entry. The Viaduct theme is abundant in the beginning, which I continuously enjoy. Later, as the arc focuses more on Percy, we have Edward's theme and Percy's theme again. It's disappointing that the music is being reused in other portions, but it doesn't bother me to the point of aggravation. Lastly, the locations are good too. The best areas shown here were Sudrey Castle and the hayfields, which were the highlight of the story. That really was a lot of hay, though. Imagine cleaning up that set once production wrapped. There were also shots of Napperd Harbor, the Farquhar Sheds, and Ellsbridge Station. All recognizable places. Next episode is the last of Season 2, Thomas and the Missing Christmas Tree. Thanks for watching.